Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report, a company update from Newcore Gold, chatting with the president and CEO, Luke Alexander. Luke and I are going to be providing a drilling update here on some recent news results from the 35,000 meter program at the Enchi Gold Project, some drill results from a pre-resource target, as well as some other results from July at a already resource area on the project. Company is really focused on growing the resources as well as some of these newer areas, maybe bringing those into the overall resource base, which already is at over 1.7 million ounces. Newcore is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol NCAU and on the OTCQX under the symbol NCAUF. Luke, let's start off with the most recent news release, September 4th. The headline number being 184 grams per ton gold over 1 meter, and some other intersections of a little bit more than 3 grams per ton gold over 13 meters. This is all from the Kojina Hill area. As I said, pre-resource. In that news release, you had 7 holes released for just under 1,000 meters. Talk to us about Kojina Hill, what this is turning into with these drill results.
Yeah, so Kojina Hill is one of the areas we've previously drilled back in kind of 2020 to 2023. We drilled about 2,500 meters into Kojina Hill, made some discoveries. We were excited about it as a target area, but ultimately didn't have enough drilling into it to wrap a resource around it. So one of the things we've talked about is with this second phase of our drill program, we are focused on more pure resource expansion type drilling. So going back to previously drill tested areas, drilling some deeper holes on some of the high grade structures we've identified. And Kojina Hill would fall into one of the previously drill tested areas. So we were excited to get back in there, do some additional drilling. So we put 7 additional holes into Kojina Hill, about 1,000 meters of drilling, and had some, as you highlighted, very good results. I mean, if you look at that, 184 grams over a meter. That's our third highest ever grade meter intercept on the project, as well as some nice high grade from surface. 3 grams over 13 meters sitting within the oxides. If you look at that 184 gram hit and you look at the cross section that we provided in our news release, you'll see that as you go move towards surface up the structure, you'll see a number of high grade intercepts within that structure. So needless to say, this 184 gram intercept is something we're very excited about. It's also importantly the deepest hole we've ever drilled on this section. So we will get back in there and follow up and see what potentially sits below this as well, and look to continue to chase the structure. It is important to, reiterate that, along the hole, we're at about 126 meters where we made this intercept, but you'll see a number of mineralized zones throughout the hole, and that 184 grams does sit within a larger mineralized zone. So yeah, we're very pleased with the results, and ultimately over time, what we'll look to do is get additional drilling into Kojina Hill, grow the mineralized footprint, with the goal of ultimately then wrapping a resource around it at some stage.
Luke, let's talk about a little bit more of what potentially is going on at depth here, because I was looking at that cross section and pretty obvious. It's deeper on in this hole, deeper on in the system here where you hit this high grade. But a lot of the other areas and other drill results in this area are much lower grade, but much longer width. So is something changing at depth here where a higher grade is coming in?
I wouldn't say anything's necessarily changing at depth. I mean, one of the things that we're always looking to do is identify where potential high grade feeder zones sit across our project. And I would encourage anyone to listen to go, look at our presentation, and you'll see a long section of our project, and we compare that to other greenstone hosted deposits along the Sewum belt. And what you'll see is once you identify these high grade feeder zones and you start to chase them to depth, you can really grow the overall size of the resource. we've identified with the, over 200,000 meters of drilling that we've completed historically on the project, of which about 110 we've done in the last 5 years. We've identified a number of high-grade structures across our project, and those are areas that we're going to want to go back to, do some deeper drilling with the goal of, growing the overall size of those mineralized high-grade areas on our project. So this intercept here at 184 grams, needless to say, we will want to do some follow-up drilling here to see what is happening below that intercept, because it could be another one of the many high-grade structures that will warrant us doing follow-up drilling on.
So this is pre-resource. As we said, prior drilling on this project, you had little over 3,500 meters. Now you have these 7 holes for right around 1,000 meters. At the end of this program, this 35,000 meter program, where obviously you're not spending a whole lot of that program at Kojina Hill, do you see moving into issuing a maiden resource just at this area?
Yeah, potentially. What we normally look at is, if an area's got 50,000 ounces or more, then we will consider, wrapping a resource around that. Our view is, given the size of our resource today, adding anything less than that doesn't make a ton of sense. But what we obviously, like here at Kojina Hill, as well as Naquanta, which is a previously drill tested area, Sewum South, Arati, all these areas are areas where we've made discoveries. We've put anywhere from, 2,500 to 5,000 meters into them. Very prospective. We've started to de-risk them with discoveries, and our view is over time we will be able to, continue to expand the mineralized footprint with the goal of adding them to our overall resource area. For us, one of the challenges, and it's a good problem to have, is we have no shortage of drill targets to go after. All of our deposits remain open along strike. They remain open at depth. So, there's an opportunity for us to continue to systematically step out at all of our current resource areas, as well as, again, we're starting to drill deeper with the diamond rig at some of our more prospective areas from a feeder zone perspective. So that's something that we're excited to be doing. But yes, part of that overall strategy is going back to areas like Kojina Hill, and these, results that we've put out highlight that opportunity for resource growth that we've got at our Enchi project.
So, Luke, I'm looking at the small map within the drill plan map at this Kojina Hill target, more project wide. And we can see that this target, kind of in the center of the overall project, right or close to that NIAM deposit. But we can see all these other squares and diamonds of all these other mineralized zones and different areas that you're drilling outside of the 5 resource areas on the project. How does Kojina Hill rank in your eyes compared to all these other, let's even call them just the pre-resource targets?
It ranks very highly, hence the reason we've gone back there and done some follow-up drilling. And again, very pleased with the results that we've had with this latest drilling that we've done at Kojina Hill. Our approach is we're continuously working up our different targets, resource areas, previously drill tested areas. So on the back of these results, we'll evaluate them relative to other step out holes we've done, deeper holes at other areas. And then we constantly reevaluate, okay, where does it, sit on the back of this latest set of drill results? Needless to say, hitting 184 grams, hitting 3 grams from surface, Kojina Hill is an area that we are going to want to get back to and do some additional follow-up drilling on the back of these results. So we're just constantly ranking and evaluating where it makes sense to be drilling to create the most value for shareholders.
So like the news release says, you have now reported about 25,000 meters out of the overall 35,000 meter program. What's still to come? If there's still 10,000 meters to be released from this program, where's that drilling taking place?
So we've talked a little bit about the opportunity at depth. I mean, if you look at the average vertical depth of the pits that constrain our resource today, they sit at about 80 meters. Average vertical depth of all the drilling would be around 125 meters. So we've really focused a lot on the oxidized near surface opportunity on our Enchi project. Deeper holes, call it, 250 meters or deeper. We've only put about 50 of those across the entire project. So that's something that we're focusing on with this additional 10,000 meters is, some diamond deeper drilling, chasing some of these high grade structures that have been identified with obviously the goal of intercepting some wide high grade mineralization at depth. So that would be a big focus for this final 10,000 meters, as well as, continuing to go back to previously drill tested areas. Stepping out along strike is something we won't lose focus on because we see that as, to a certain extent, lower risk drilling given the, drilling that has been done previously in those areas.
This depth component is the one thing that really sticks out to me because even going back to that July 16th news release from the drill results at the Sewum Gold deposit, the Sewum deposit is the largest of the five deposits, but the vertical depth of drill holes to date at Sewum only down to 75 meters. And even this recent drill result from Kojina Hill, as you said, it maybe just over 100 meters vertical depth. How deep are you going to be drilling as you're trying to expand the resources? I'm just assuming at these already deposits, and which deposits are you going to be focusing on for this deeper drilling?
So, short answer is NCAUF and Boin are the two areas that we're focused on and or will be focusing on for the deeper drilling. NCAUF, if you go look at our block model on our website, you'll see we've had some very positive high grade intercepts at NCAUF that warrant drilling deeper and looking to expand those areas. Boin, again, if you look at the long section of Boin on our website, you'll see a number of high grade shoots that we think we've identified across Boin. So that's another area where we're keen to do some deeper drilling and look to chase these high grade structures. So those would be the two key areas that we're focused on for this initial phase of deeper diamond drilling.
So, Luke, this program, you can drill year round at this project. Yes, it's 35,000 meters. This, I believe, has been funded ever since you started this program. But let's face it, it's a better market environment right now. Share prices are generally higher. What does that mean for continuing this program? And what sort of cash are you sitting on for maybe expanding the program?
Yeah, so if you look at our most recent financials, you'll see we had about $10 million in the bank. One of the other key things is, one way of looking at it is Newcore's got embedded financing within the company. So we've got roughly 9 million warrants that expire September 26th, so the end of this month. That money has started to trickle in. That'll bring in about $3.5 million. So, that will boost our cash position to around 14 million. We then have an additional $10 million of warrants that are due between now and February. So what's that, 5, 6 months from now? So that would bring in an additional 10 million. So 10 million in the bank, 3.5 million that we're quite comfortable will come in, given those have a 40-cent strike price. And then assuming the market continues to be favorable and we continue to deliver strong results such as the ones we've put out at Kojina Hill, our view is that there's an opportunity for those 50-cent warrants to come in as well. So we're cashed up and positioned to complete our PFS as well as obviously continue to aggressively drill on the project.
So with this PFS coming, another catalyst for the company and showing underlying value. The thing is, you haven't updated, or the resource is updated, I believe, as of kind of mid 2024 when you came out with your PEA. A lot of drilling is going to be done since that resource estimate, and that resource estimate of just over 1.7 million ounces, had over 700,000 in indicated and almost a million ounces in inferred. What does that look like when you update this resource? Will you be moving a lot of the inferred to indicated? Are you focused more on growing the resource? Talk to us about the balance here of how all this drilling is going to be incorporated, not just into, again, the PFS, but an updated resource.
Yeah, so if you look at the phase one portion of this 35,000 meter drill program, it was really focused on resource conversion. So moving ounces from the inferred into the indicated category. If you look at our PEA, what fed that PEA was roughly 1.3 million ounces. So our goal is to take our 740,000 ounces of indicated today and increase that to north of 1.3 million ounces. So that was a big part of the focus of the first phase of drilling of this 35,000 meters. But what we also did was we pushed a number of the holes deeper and wider on the various sections and the pits that constrain our resource today. So we think there is also an opportunity for some resource growth with the drilling that we completed in the first phase. And then obviously now, we're really focused on resource expansion type drilling. So Kojina Hill would be an area that could get added to our resource over time. Obviously, as we step out and grow the mineralized footprint at our existing resource areas, that could add ounces, as well as discoveries below the existing pits with some of this deeper drilling is an area that can add ounces as well. So that's really the focus, is conversion with the first phase, but we think we'll get some resource expansion as part of that. And then the next phase, this second phase, is really focused on aggressive resource expansion and going back to previously drill tested areas.
All right, Luke, thank you very much for this update. I'll post a link to the Newcore website so you all can read over the recent news releases. Send me any questions you have for Luke, and I'll follow up as more drill results come and we discuss more big picture, what this looks like for advancing the Enchi project and what else could be coming from the company and simply this better bullish market environment. Again, Luke Alexander, President and CEO of Newcore Gold. Luke, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks a lot.